Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Thanks. So,
We are here tonight with last stretch. So for
last
you it's
stretch.
morning, but
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
that's right.
yeah,
So today, let's say.
yeah.
So
That's right.
as as usual, I would like to ask you if you could introduce a little bit about yourself, but also to introduce a little bit about your band and how this idea came to life and why. I mean, how did you approach the music in general, even if you know, when you were a child or something, if you have some
Okay.
nice things to say, yeah, about this.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm John. I play guitar in Last Retch. We're an old school death metal band from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. It's just a city about 45 minutes west of Toronto. So everybody knows Toronto, so it's close to there. And yeah, this is my first band. I'm in my 30s, so I got a late start to playing music, but basically we're a pandemic band.
Mm.
We were bored during the pandemic, and so we decided to dust off the guitars and try to make some music. So yeah,
Sure.
but I've been a lifelong fan of metal and death metal since I was like about 12 years old. I got really hooked on Metallica, and then I just went more and more extreme. And then ever since high school, it's been a lot of death metal and just every genre of metal and extreme music, mostly.
Oh,
So yeah,
nice,
a little
nice.
bit of everything.
You were like the one that was playing more, like in your family or in your house, like it was like, or maybe some relative or something that
Well,
introduced you to it.
kind of. So no one in my family plays music, and nobody in my family is really that into music. They just listen to whatever's kind of on the radio.
Yeah.
They're not concert goers. They're not people that like anticipate when albums come out. But I did have one cousin who was much older than me, probably 15, maybe 20 years older than me.
Yeah.
And when I was really young, like 7 years old, he came over and he saw that I was just listening to whatever my sister liked. My sister's 3 or 4 years older than me, so she was listening to Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, all that stuff. And so I was just like, I guess this is what people listen to because I was just a child.
Of course.
So I was like, yeah, all about pop music. But
Sure.
yeah, my cousin came over and he just looked at me and he's like, no, this isn't happening. No. So he came back the next day with like a burned CD with Led Zeppelin, Motley Crue,
Yeah.
what else was on there? The Who, Pink Floyd.
Amazing.
So that started me along like guitar music in general. But then once I heard Metallica, I knew like this is my thing. Like I want to listen to metal. So
Yeah.
it was
Amazing.
Metallica. Yeah.
Sure.
So thank God we have cousins sometimes,
I
right?
know. Yeah. I haven't talked to that guy in like probably 15 years, and he'd probably be pretty happy to see me long hair playing in a band. Not
Yeah,
Backstreet
sure.
Boys. Yeah, not Backstreet Boys.
It's a new version of Backstreet Boys. So,
Yeah, that's right.
can you please talk about the lineup? Is the same from when you started, or it changed?
For the most part, it's the same. So on vocals, there's Finley,
Yeah.
and then I'm on guitar, and then there's another guitar player named Derek, and the three of us, we grew up together. We've been friends since we were young children.
Nice.
And then our bass player Matt, he's been around since the beginning. He's the younger cousin of our original drummer.
Okay.
So he's much younger than us and from a different town. So we never would have met him if not for the family connection there, because he's about 10 years younger than the next closest member in age. And then we have Spencer Robson on drums. He joined about a year ago. But before that, we had Davis Maxwell. He's our producer. He records and produces all of our music. So he was our original drummer, and then he moved on to work on other projects. So
Okay.
yeah, he's still very involved. We're all still buddies. It's kind of like the six of us when we come in to make a record, but the five guys in the band, it's a good solid lineup.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, it's nice.
And so So you're from Hamilton, as you say, and just would like to ask if the scene, the local scene, it just shaped your sound in some way, or it just decided to go, I don't know, like more from the U.S. scene or the European scene.
Mhm. Well, I didn't grow up in Hamilton. I grew up in a very small town just outside of Hamilton. So we didn't have much of a scene. All of the shows were happening in Hamilton or St. Catharines, which is another city not far from here.
Okay.
Um, but now, and when I was a kid, hardcore seems to be the prevalent style of music in these scenes, which is cool. It's never been my thing. I have a lot of friends that play in hardcore and a lot of good connections with hardcore musicians, but it's just never been my style.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say the scene growing up or the scene now really shapes me or our band too much. Um, it's just always been like outside influences.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So metal websites growing up, like I don't read them anymore, but things like Metal Injection and Metal Sucks. And when I was in high school, that was really the only place I was getting news or information on extreme music.
Yeah.
So we used to just kind of go through all of the bands that were getting announced on the websites and find the ones we like. And eventually we started steering towards more like tech death. Like we really liked like Necrophagist and
Yeah.
The Faceless, stuff like that when we were in high school. Because I was in high school in 2006 to 2010. So old school death metal wasn't having a lot of good new bands in that period. It was more of the technical side of things that were really popping off. So like we like the classics like Carcass, Death, Cannibal Corpse, Bolt Thrower, that kind of stuff. But the modern stuff was usually more technical. So
Yeah.
all outside influences, not too much influence from our scene, really.
Okay. And I wanted to ask a question about like more a little bit more practical. Like when you are, creating your songs, and is there any particular thing that you usually do? Like you start, for example, from a riff, or it's you that start, because I think you're we were talking about that you are mostly the author mainly, right? And yeah, how does it
Yeah.
work? Like how do you approach?
Well, everyone has input, but I like usually come up with the initial idea.
Yeah,
So like Spencer, our drummer, he likes to like write his parts. I usually have an idea, but he likes to put his own stamp on it, which is good. And Derek, the other guitar player, is always giving feedback, and so is our bass player. But yeah, it always starts with a riff. Right here at this desk, I'm sitting at, I got my plants and all this stuff
Yeah.
around here, and I got amps in this room. And yeah, right at this desk, I'll usually just grab a cup of coffee and probably smoke some weed. And yeah, it just starts with a riff. Usually, usually I'll like set out to write a certain type of song. So maybe I need something that's really fast, or I need something that's more mid-tempo. I mean, we normally stay in like a mid-tempo range with some exceptions, but usually I have like a rough idea of the kind of song I want to write, and then I'll just be fooling around until a riff emerges, and then I'll go from there. Usually I try to keep the songs to maybe 3 riffs, maybe 4 riffs at most. And you want some sort of connection between the riffs. You don't just want riff salad,
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah,
whole
yeah,
bunch of like, here's a new riff, here's a new riff. Like that's not really a song, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, usually an initial idea of a type of song and then a riff, and then it kind of just goes from there. But to be honest, I don't overthink it very much. Usually it just happens pretty organically, and the guys give their input, and we're usually pretty happy with it. Like there's never been a song that we've like worked on for months or struggled to find the composition. It's usually pretty organic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's nice. Is that's also it comes very spontaneous. Sometimes it's very, it's much better than the when you hear it. You can hear it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think so at least.
I had almost the same question that you're doing, but I can change it. So for Sadism and Severed Heads, so really put you in the underground map. Can you please talk about the album and how how you record it and the idea to make this album?
Okay. Well, Davis, the guy that used to play drums for us, he's a producer in this area. He produces a lot of the local hardcore metal rock bands, so he's very well connected. I met him because I wanted to record a project I was working on right before Last Retch.
Yeah.
The band was actually called Murder, which is pretty funny band name. Surprised it wasn't taken by like a band that had like done well. There was some smaller bands that didn't go anywhere really, but in terms of like a big death metal band, nobody's been Murder yet. So we thought that was pretty hard. And basically the band imploded during the recording session. There was just some personal friction that was coming to light and it just wasn't very fun. So it kind of just fizzled out, and Davis, who was producing the record, said, hey, why don't, like, we should do something. And I was into the idea because he's an incredible drummer, one of the best drummers I've ever seen or worked with. So the initial idea was we were doing something a little bit more technical with Murder, even bordering in some cases on like deathcore. There was more of like there was like breakdowns even, which we don't really have breakdowns in Last Retch per se. Like we'll have slower parts, but not a proper breakdown. So yeah, it was kind of a style that I had grown out of a lot at that time, but it was something formed out of the ashes of like a high school band. So we were kind of kicking around ideas that we had had all those years prior. But Davis had suggested we do something a little more old school, which was more in line with our current tastes. And and we just started writing and working on that. He used to run a recording studio out of an abandoned church. So the room that we would record in was like the main room of the church. There was an old organ, there was stained glass windows, there was 30-foot ceilings. So the acoustics were really cool.
Yeah.
So we actually wrote that whole album in a church, which was kind of fun, right?
Amazing.
Yeah, but I remember one of the initial conversations when Davis and I were talking about the idea or the aesthetic behind the band was to be less focused on like gory imagery and like that kind of stuff and more take it like a spooky direction, like European folklore. I remember like the first album cover and the song that inspired that art is loosely based on like Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
Or like a darker version of Hansel and Gretel, like more evil, more crazy. Yeah, so we wanted to focus more on like witchcraft, poisons. Like we imagined a lot of like darker colors, purples, reds, oranges, just to go a little bit more in like a spooky occult direction as opposed to your traditional gore vibes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the artwork and the lyrical themes around the band started. And yeah, recording it in a church just kind of lent itself to that like spooky, creepy kind of vibe. So we were pretty happy with how that came out. We wrote and recorded that album very quickly because it just happened pretty organically. And all the guys that were in Murder, except for one member, ended up joining Last Retch. So it's basically we just kind of retooled the band, upgraded our drummer, and went in a direction that was a little bit more in line with our current tastes.
Okay, and this atmosphere, can you also like, do you do something to reproduce it like as you say, like in the church, or but do you do it also on the live? Like, do you try to do this kind of mood to transmit it? Yeah.
So I mean, we normally don't headline. Like we headline some smaller shows, but usually we're opening or playing somewhere in the middle of the lineup. So when that's the case, we don't really want to bring our lights and our fog machine and make it all about us, because we're just supporting the main band. But when we headline, we do like to we have our own LED light system, and we have some underlighting for the stage, and we bring a smoke machine and we get all the smoke going, and we like to create a vibe, usually cut all of the venue lights. So the only lights are like the glow from under the stage. So we do like to create a spooky vibe. I remember I saw Spectral Voice play a show in Montreal last year, and it was so spooky and scary that it was almost the vibe was almost as impressive as the performance itself. I remember being I couldn't stop thinking about it. So ever since then, I was like, we got to smoke it out, cool lights, because it really does set the atmosphere, which goes along with the lyrical themes. So,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Actually,
if we're headlining, yes. Only if we're headlining, though. So.
Yes. I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, it's something that I wanted to ask because we were talking a lot about this after a concert that we have seen like this summer, I think, and it was really, bringing you in the mood, like with, as you say, with the glowing in the back and all the some, very dark, very nice. So it's something that honestly I really like personally.
Yeah.
And do you have any particular live concert that and was really memorable for you? I mean, something. It doesn't have to be only last Retch, but I mean in general in your life, or something that you really remember and say, "Oh my God, it was something really crazy or really
Yeah.
nice," or yeah.
I mean, recency bias will definitely come into play here because, things that are fresh on your mind. I did mention that Spectral Voice show that they played in I think last May in Montreal. It was with Sedimentum, who's a fantastic Canadian death metal band. That one really stuck with me. We just got to play with Dead Congregation when they played in Toronto a couple weeks ago, and those guys blew me away. How tight they were. It was just pummeling. Their drummer was superhuman. So that one really stands out. Different style, but I saw Meshuggah when they came to Toronto on the Obscene tour. I think that was back in 2007. That just totally kicked my ass. I couldn't believe how intimidating they were and how incredibly tight they were. So that's a big one for me as well. I'm drawing a blank right now, but there's a lot of memorable concert experiences, and like ultimately that's what makes me want to try to do my own thing in the live setting, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, those would be some standouts though.
Yeah, and also, how do you feel about the physical formats for the like tapes, vinyls, or CDs, and also versus the digital part?
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because having the ease of access for digital streaming, it allows you to reach audiences with relative ease that you would never be able to in previous eras. So the technology is very helpful for that. But at the same time, I think that the difficulty in getting something pressed on physical media was also somewhat of a helpful barrier to entry for people that maybe weren't as serious or didn't really want to do it seriously. So what I mean is, like, in 1993, if your death metal band was putting out a vinyl, that showed that like you're working hard, like you're doing what you need to do, you're putting the music out there, you're following through, because people aren't just going to print your record on vinyl on a whim.
Yeah.
So like just having physical media showed a certain level of legitimacy and work ethic. Whereas with streaming, like you could self-produce and play every instrument and program the drums and basically write and release an album in a weekend.
Yeah.
You could bust out some AI artwork, and next thing you know, you have a record that's on Spotify that looks pretty legitimate, but you're just like you didn't really have to work for it like you would in a normal, I guess, physical media release. So
yeah, exactly.
As a result, you go through Spotify and there's thousands of new death metal bands, it seems, and they can't all be good. So you worry that maybe if you think your project is of high quality, it might get lost in the noise because there's just option paralysis. You know,
Yeah.
so many choices. What's the chance they're going to click on yours when all the art looks the same, all the names are the same words mixed up in different orders? Like, you know, like I think there's like 4 bands going right now that are either like something Retch, you know, there's so like you get lost in the noise, but it's also nice to, like, for example, you guys found us on Spotify.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like balancing that, like trying to still put a big focus in physical media, which we do. Like we worked hard on the layouts, and we went back and forth with the label to make sure everything, the details were exactly what we wanted. But then you also wonder, is that a waste of effort in some cases when people are just gonna hit shuffle on their Spotify and it's the luck of the algorithm, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Sure.
completely.
So it's a
Yes.
double-edged sword, but I personally think physical media is very important. Like vinyl is my main medium for listening to music. If I like a record, I make a point of always buying it on
Yeah.
vinyl to support the band, and because I like having the collection. I like the ritual. You know, I grab my coffee, I put on a record, I flip it over on to the next side. I like that, you know, so
Yeah.
I think it's really important.
Sure.
Yes, yes. And indeed, on the artwork part, how does it work for you? Like, do you have someone doing that, or maybe you do it by yourself, or how do you choose and how do you make it?
So basically, so far, we've just picked artists that I enjoy the work they've done for other bands, and I've always thought, oh, it'd be really cool to have their artwork on our record. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of just going through my greatest hits, reaching out to these people, and it's very surprising how receptive they are to work with anybody, even if no one's heard of your band. And also, it's surprising how affordable it is to get these custom pieces of artwork made for your album. I think people might overestimate how much it costs. You know, like
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you
yes,
see some of the art out there and you see that they didn't really take time or spend money on it, I don't think a lot of people realize like it's not that much more to get one of these globally recognized artists to make you a piece.
yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, it's always nice to complete art with art. Is very
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
It's very
And can you also please talk about your last recording?
Okay, yeah. Abject Cruelty, our new record, just dropped
Yeah.
on Time to Kill.
Yeah.
yeah.
We recorded it with Davis again, but he moved studios. So unfortunately, he's no longer in the old church. He's actually at an old schoolhouse now. So we went from a church to a school.
Oh,
So yeah,
something changed.
yeah. So it's an old schoolhouse. It's here in Hamilton. It's in Dundas, a small community that's part of Hamilton, but just outside. And yeah, the recording process went really well. We've worked with Davis. This was our 5th recording session, if you count the one that never got released,
Yeah.
the murder one there. But so we know the workflow. Davis knows exactly what we want to sound like. He knows that we're going to come in prepared, and we get very focused. So there's not a lot of like fooling around. We're there to execute. Everybody wants to go. Once the drums are done, everybody's just itching to get their parts done. And so yeah, we go in, record, it goes pretty smooth, and then the mixing process is pretty straightforward with him as well. So very easy process. Davis makes it very easy to get your record sounding exactly how you want it to. So
Yeah, yeah.
we're very lucky to have him.
And
Sure.
what stage you are now for with this record? Like what is the now you're programming some tour about it?
We're trying to. So we're trying to go to Europe actually.
Nice.
I'm talking to a couple promoters, trying to get something going. I'd like to go twice in 2026.
Yeah.
Definitely once in the summer, but we're trying to get something going in like March or April right now. Just trying to find someone who'll book it for us and trying to see what bands friends would like to come with us or meet up with. But yeah, we've done the local circuit here for a couple years. There's only so many good markets to play in our province. Canada is very big geographically, so the cost and the time it would take us to drive all the way out west or out east, I feel like I would rather go play in Europe where you have a higher concentration of like good markets.
Yeah.
And also selfishly, I just want to get a trip to Europe out of this. So
Yeah.
I've been once before, but I've only been to Czech Republic and Amsterdam. So I want to see all of Europe, and if music's my ticket, then that should hopefully that works out for us. But yeah, we want to come play Europe, and then eventually we're going to go down to the US, but I don't know how long that's going to be.
Sure.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Definitely Europe first.
Well, we would love to see one of your dates
Absolutely.
here
yeah.
in Europe. So we really, really, really wish you to find a very, very nice, good, big tour for your band.
Hopefully it works out.
Sure. And also for just about you and the other members of the band, do you have some side projects apart of Last Retch?
Yeah, our drummer plays in a progressive metal band. They're an instrumental band called Jow Day.
Hey.
You can follow them on Instagram. They make like very, very, very cool progressive music. Much more difficult in terms of composition and technicality than what we do. When he joined our band, I think endurance was the part he had to learn coming from prog to death metal. But in terms of like musicality and chops, like what he's doing in that band is way crazier on the drums than what he's doing in our band. Like this band is just, he has to do double kicks for 30-minute set or blast beats. But in that band, he's like octopus arms, he's going crazy. So he has that band. Other than that, no, none of us really have any like active side projects.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
just working and then doing this. So that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we understand. And I wanted to ask a weird, funny question.
Okay.
So it's time to for this question. So if Last Retch were a horror movie, like what kind of film would it be, and who would direct it, or who would be the actor for you? Or
Whoa. I don't know about actors. See, I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'm like, Derek and Finley are really into movies, and Spencer, our drummer, used to work in the film industry. So like, they're all big film buffs, whereas I'm probably the least equipped member to talk about this. I know nothing about films. But in terms of vibes, that movie The Witch or that movie The Village, I think they're both what is it, M. Night Shyamalan movies? I think so.
Okay.
So maybe that kind of vibe, like a spooky, creepy, either like European village, like way back in the day, or like maybe like early days of America, and then like something bad happens and trying to figure out who. But so maybe that kind of a vibe, just to play into our original themes of like witchcraft and horror and stuff like that. In terms of actors, I don't know. I really have no idea.
Yeah. But that's nice. That's anyway, nice vibe, and
yeah, spooky vibes.
Yeah.
Spooky vibe.
And so about this, and had you thought about to make some soundtrack for a horror movie or something like this?
No, not me. I'm completely incapable of using computers. Like the fact that we were able to get this set up is a miracle. So I feel like to score a movie, I would need to like know how to record and like, you know, maybe understand how to like do synths or play pianos or program music in some case. But not only am I technologically incapable, but like I don't understand music at all. So like, I can't play piano, or I don't understand notes or scales, or I feel like like if you want to write movie scores like Hans Zimmer, like he has such a deep understanding of not only producing music but just composition in general.
Yeah.
Sure.
So if I did a movie score, I think the movie would fail and not make any money, and nobody would ever want to watch it. So that's
It's an amazing answer.
I love it.
And
yeah, I'm a
so,
caveman.
and so talking about death metal in 2025, what do you think about it? So you can find like a lot of bands that are really interesting to listen to it, or
Oh yeah.
you are more like into the 90s?
No, I love the current era of death metal. I think I think this is probably, other than the 90s, this is the best era death metal has ever had.
Yeah.
Like I said, with the whole physical media versus digital music, it is a barrier to entry, but at the same time, we're getting some really good stuff that maybe we wouldn't normally get. Just the amount of good bands and the amount of quality releases that come out every month is staggering. It's hard to keep up, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'd say I probably listen to like 30 or 40% old school stuff, but then the rest would be, I try to keep up with what's happening right now, and I love it. I'm so lucky to be the age I am right now, because I'm not a kid anymore. Like, I'm in my 30s, so I have a good enough job that I can afford to go to concerts and buy records, and I feel like this is a perfect time to be a death metal fan. It's awesome. I love the modern death metal. Yeah, it rules.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, actually, I really want to thank you for being with us, because it was very, very nice. And thank you so much for joining our project.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
was so cool. I honestly would like to ask you if you could stay on Zoom so we can say bye to each other. It was very, very nice, and thank you so much for being with us.
Sure. No problem. Just one more thing. Buy Abject Cruelty from Time to Kill Records. They have European distribution, American distribution, and then pretty soon there's going to be Canadian distribution through Futhark Records in Toronto. So anybody in Canada, hit up Futhark Records. If you're anywhere else in the world, go to Time to Kill, and they can ship it directly to you. So please buy the new record. If you want to see us in Europe, tell your local promoter, bring us over. Tell your friends about us so we can keep rocking.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Support the band.
That's right.
Always. Exactly.
That's right.
So,
thank you very
thanks
much.
again.
All right.
And
Cheers. Thanks.
to everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.